Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do a quick comparison video. So I don't do a lot of videos that aren't like reviews, right? I'm always unboxing something new, doing a first impressions or disassembly of something new, or I'm doing a full review of something new. And got my coconut LaCroix here. Love this. Finally had it back in stock. But I kind of want to do a comparison video. And these are two OGs right here, right? Benchmade Bugout was one of the first knives I got a few years ago when I started getting like higher end knives and really getting into knives. My first ever like decent knife was a Boker Sub Compact. Do I have that thing? This thing. Subcom or something like that. I got this when I was like, I think I said 14 before, but I'm pretty sure it was more like 18. I got it at a gun shop, and I thought it was cool, and it had serrations. And this thing, you know, obviously I carried it a lot. I hate it now because I know things. And then that was like when I was 18. I had that forever, and I never really carried it that much. I wasn't really into knives. I just had a cool knife, or what I thought was a cool knife. And then, you know, a few years ago, I think 2017, I bought a ZT-0450 CF because I was watching a lot of gun channels on YouTube, and somehow I got introduced to Nick Shabazz. I think I was watching Nuttin' Fancy, and Shabazz got recommended somehow. I don't know. And then I went down a wormhole of knife videos, and I got very interested because different from guns, they're more accessible, they're easier to get, they're less expensive, and they're cool. They have mechanisms, like they're just as cool in my opinion as guns. So I started getting into knives, and now I really am not into guns anymore. I just have one for like self-defense type situation, and I use it, you know, I carry it for everything. But anyway, so I got the ZT-0450 CF after long deliberations of what I should get, and I spent $180 on Amazon. It was like, man, that's a lot of money, right? And then, you know, like a month later, I got a Bugout, which is a plain blue Bugout, which that's this knife right here. And that was like $114 on Amazon. Yes, I bought my first couple knives from Amazon. And that really got me started, right? And then I learned about Blade HQ, started watching Blade Banter, or is it called Knife Banter? Sorry, Blade Banter is a channel. Shout out to David. Started watching Knife Banter, and, you know, went down the whole rabbit hole, and you see me now, a couple years later. I'm on YouTube babbling about a ton of knives I own. So that's kind of what happens. But I did at one point buy a Blurple Para 3 to try it, and I absolutely despised the knife. I returned it like instantly to Blade HQ. I hated the Blurple. I didn't like the action on it. Being a lefty, the compression line, like it just wasn't worth it to me because I spent $150 on it. I was like, oh my God, $170 or something. So like I had anxiety from the purchase, and then I returned it because I didn't love it. And then I eventually got the lightweight when that came out, and I really liked the lightweight at first. I was not a big fan of the steel, the BD1N, but I liked the lightweight, but I kept dropping them because of the compression lock. I would just fumble around in my hand and then like try to push it down, and it would just slide out of my hand like I'd be drunk trying to fidget with my knives, because that's what I do. And I would just like drop it, and it would shoot across the bathroom or the kitchen floor or wherever. And then I got the Spy 27 lightweight, and I thought that was cool, but I don't know. I fell out of love with the compression lock. I slowly sold all my compression lock knives. And in the meantime, I started doing a kind of build on my bug out. This was just the standard blue bug out when I started, and I've done a video explaining everything on this, so just real quick, I got custom micarta scales and a custom G10 backspacer made for it by Death Grip Scales. Awesome dude. He's in my area here. Hit him up on Instagram. He does a lot of Benchmades. I got these thumb studs from Benchmade. I told them I had a Ranger Green one and lost them or damaged them, so they sent me a new set. I bought this clip from MXG Gear. You'll see the clips actually, I think, are identical. And then I ordered titanium silver hardware or body screws from Flytanium, I think, or something like that. And that's how I kind of pieced this guy together. If I can, I think that's everything. Yeah. And then when I started the channel and kind of, I wanted to do a build video of a knife, and I've been meaning to try the CME from OCD for EDC ever since I've heard about it. It just intrigued me because I really liked a lot of Spydercos, but I just couldn't bring myself to buy anymore because of this compression lock, and so I wanted to try his CME. So I decided on a Para 2 or PM2 or the Para 3, and I was keeping my eye on the secondary because I wanted a cool steel. I didn't want S30V or one of the standard ones. And the first thing to pop up that I could get and was at least a little different was this K390 Para 3. So this is a bento box exclusive, I believe. And it comes with like blue G10 handles. And it was already modded, so it already had these scales on it, which have the Rips Garage Tech Skinny Mod burlap micarta scales, but they were tapped for right hand only. So I got the knife, and then I decided to do the build, right? So I have hardware coming, black hardware, and lanyard tubes. So I'm going to swap all of that out to black. And we'll see how that looks. I kind of like it right now the way it is, but we'll see. But in the meantime, I wanted to compare this to the bug out. So I did tap this for lefty. You can see that video. It worked. You can tell. It has the clip on it, and it functions fantastically. If you make it through that video, congratulations. I appreciate it. I did a lot of stupid stuff in that video. So that's kind of my explanation of where I'm at with these two knives. Neither of them are like exciting to me. Neither of them are like, oh, I want to carry this every day like I used to. I used to love carrying my bug out. And maybe when the summer comes around, I'll get back there. But right now I wear a lot of jeans and stuff like that. So I just don't really carry it, even though I love the build. And I'm never selling this. I say that a lot, but I am never selling this knife. And I think the same will be with this one because I'm kind of putting it together. It's kind of a channel project knife, so I just like the idea of that, and I think I'll hang on to them. And they're good for videos and stuff. I know a lot of people use them for comparisons, and that's for good reason because everybody has them or knows of them or has had one, you know. But I wanted to compare them because they're basically the flagship knife for EDC folks, for these companies. They might not be the flagship knife, like the Paramilitary 2 and the 940 are probably more popular. They've been around longer. But to me, as an EDC guy, these are the knives you think of when you think Spyderco and Benchmade, because they're easy to carry, they're lightweight, they're fun and fidgety, their size is relatively smaller. Just all those things together make it a great package, price point, all that good stuff. So that's why I wanted to compare them, and they're just comparable in general, even though they look different, right? So with the Benchmade bug out, you have an S35 VN blade, 3.25 inch blade, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not measuring anything because then we'll get into the weeds here. But I'm pretty sure it's 3.25 inch blade of S35 VN, but now they've come out with new models. So now they have ones in M390. I think there might be an S90V one. You could definitely get 20 CV now, or you can stick with the stock S30V, which I found is absolutely a fantastic EDC steel. This is probably the knife I have sharpened the most, and I use my Spyderco sharp maker. I'm not some kind of expert sharpener, but I can get this back to a hair shaving, paper slicing sharp in, 5 minutes, real easy, and then throw it on the strop, and it's good to go. And for the amount that I used to carry this, it's been sharpened a few times. So I really do like their S30V. It's not going to hold an edge the longest, but it's a very good EDC steel. Easy to touch up, all that good stuff. And then this pair 3 is in K390, but their normal one comes in S30V, just like the Benchmade, and similar to Benchmade's S30V. I've heard very good things. I've never had a knife long enough from Spyderco in it to tell you personally, but I've heard pretty much the same experience from both there. They've been using those steels for a long time, so they've perfected it. And then your pair 3 will come with black G10 scales, but there's a million variations of both of these now. You can get so many pair 3s in so many steels and handle materials, it's ridiculous. And there's enough of these now that I can say you have your options. So that's really cool, right? You don't just have a satin with black handle and that's all you get. I hate when a knife is like that. So they're also very comparable in that sense. And lastly, they're very comparable because of the aftermarket scene. You can get so many aftermarket parts and pieces for both of these knives. Like, I basically turned both of these into different knives. Like, this was a blue FRN handled bug out with blue thumb studs, blue plasticky standoffs and everything. And now look at it. I mean, it's just a completely different knife. And personally, it's probably the sexiest bug out there. I implore you to message me on Instagram or tag me in a picture of your modded bug out. I want to see it. I want to see how cool yours looks and see if you can top this baby, okay? I'm just messing around, but I love this thing. And I didn't really do too much to this one. The scales were on there, but I absolutely am loving these burlap micarta scales with the skinny mod. I was gonna get like sharp dress knives, carbon scales or something. He didn't have any in stock at the time, but now that I have this, like, I don't want to change these scales. I want these scales. So it worked out perfectly. And obviously I just had to tap it for lefty, which worked out. Got the clip on there. And once we get the hardware, we'll see, for sure. But I think this is a good looking pair of 3 too. But again, tag me on Instagram and let's see yours. I'd love to see your guys' builds on your knives. Modding knives is just really fun. I don't go too crazy when it comes to like blade finishes and all that kind of stuff. But I've had work like that done for me by BJ Hill over at Hilltop Knives and Gear. If you ever need help modding a knife, or you have an idea of something you want to do to your knife, but you're not inclined to do it like I am, like I'm an idiot, I can't go acid etching blades and cutting in choils and whatever. Excuse me, but BJ is a master at that. He's really fun to work with, and he doesn't charge you a gajillion dollars. Like, I had that Giant Mouse Ace Grand for a little bit, and he like bead blasted the micarta scales. He anode the hardware. He improved the access to the lock bar. And I think he anode the liners as well. And I think some other stuff. And it was like $65. Like, he's not going to like kill you with price, and you get to end up with the coolest knife. Like, check out Scott Big Bore Knife and Gear, Scott Williams. He bought that Grand from the guy I sold it to. I just don't drive with giant mouths, so I sold it, but it's a good knife. And I think um, Rusty Knife Lover, he has it right now. And so if you want to see that grand, check out their Instagram pages. But yeah, so back to that. You can mod these out however you want. So if you don't like burlap micarta, cool. You can get fat carbon, right? If you don't like the hump, cool. You can get a skinny mod. If you don't like any of those things and you want titanium, cool. You can get titanium scales, titanium hardware, titanium clip. It's just the options are endless on these things. And that's one thing I really, really love about the Bugout and the Para 3. So that's kind of an overview of those two and kind of what you get, what you can do, that kind of thing. So I wanted to compare them also functionally. So I'm going to start here with the Benchmade Bugout and zoom out a little bit, and just ergonomically, it's such a neutral handle, has this just swell in here, and it's just very comfortable. It's just a simple knife with simple ergonomics, and it just fits my hand. I just have a great grip. I have good control. It just packs a lot into it's hard to explain. Like, it's so lightweight, yet you have 3¼ inch blade. Like, you could do a lot of work with this thing, but it weighs nothing. I just absolutely love that about this knife. So ergonomics on this knife are very, very good, and the cutting ability is also very good. It's not the thinnest behind the edge, and it has this flat grind, but it's still very, very good, right? Then you have the Spyderco Para 3 here, and the ergos on this thing are exceptional. Spyderco just, they kill it with ergonomics. This thing is more comfortable than the Bugout, which I already said is excellent. But this forward finger choil and this little groove for your thumb, I mean, you couldn't have built this knife better for my hand in this grip right here. And you can always move your thumb up if you want to get a little more control. But this grip right here is fantastic. And if you want to hold it back down here, you can. And that's comfortable too. It's just crazy how they did that. Getting rid of this hump, I think, helps for me personally. It fits my hand a little better that way. But even with that hump, the Para 3 is very comfortable. And cutting on the Para 3 is one of its standout points. It's better than the Bugout for sure. I think it comes down to a thinner edge or a more well-done edge. This is a full flat grind, and it is absolutely a cutting machine. I really enjoy cutting with a Para 3. This K390 is ridiculous as well when it comes to edge retention. Now, I'll have to maintain the blade a little more. I already put some oil on there, but you got to make sure you keep it clean and dry and that kind of stuff. And that kind of brings us to action. So on this Paramilitary 3, you have the hole for deployment. And you can thumb flick it with the hole, or you can do the Spidey flick, which I just screwed up like that. I'm not the best at Spidey flicking. Actually, I kind of suck at it, but, I'm getting better. And it's not because I don't know how. I don't know. Knives don't fit in my hands the way like a lot of people say you're supposed to pinch the knife between this finger and your palm. And the way it lands for me, I don't know. It just never makes sense. So I end up doing it like this. And I grab the clip with the pinky, and then I hold my finger here. And if it's a frame lock, well, in a righty frame lock, then I'm screwed. But if I hold it like this, I can flick it fine. And this finger sometimes gets in the way, so I'm just not the best at it. But, I'm sure you guys know what you're doing. So if you like the Spidey flick, this is a good one. And I really do like the Spidey flick a lot. I do that with a lot of my knives. But if I can get a good thumb flick, I'm good. I don't need to have the Spidey flick. I like it, of course. It's definitely a plus when I get it on a knife, but a good thumb flick like this is fine with me. I do want to note that Spyderco has a weird detent. They all seem to have this weird light detent. I can just do this, break, and it only goes halfway. But it's dialed well enough that if you give it a little bit, it flies out. And most people really like Spydercos, so I'm not going to sit here and hate on the detent. It's just not my preferred detent. This has the compression lock, which I don't like really. It's basically a reverse liner lock that's a little bit more secure, is how I understand that. So this has the CME on it from OCD for EDC, which basically adds this G10 block on here so you have more control to disengage the lock, which is supposed to be good for right-handed use and left-handed use, because you don't have to like dig your finger in. You can just push it and you're good to go. I have found it very, very useful. It doesn't solve all the world's problems or all the Para 3 problems in terms of like, I still have to kind of adjust my hand oddly to get to it and disengage, but I have more control and I'm less likely to drop it this way. The CME is cool, and again, you can thumb flick and reverse flick this. Now on the close, depending on how you've had your Para 3 dialed, it should just drop close like that, no problem, right? And that's one of the key features of the compression lock. You don't have to have your fingers in the path of the blade, and it's very fidgety because you can watch it drop all the way down. And that is fun as a knife guy, right? Especially when it bounces off. Oh, I love that. Now, your mileage will vary in terms of how much blade play you end up with because of that. This knife in particular has none. There's no blade play, and it does that, and it's dead centered. I'd say this is a 1 in a million Spyderco here, but I'm sure you can get it tuned the way you want it. But sometimes you end up with one where you just have a little play to get that action and you deal with it, or you don't and you don't have the action. It's up to you. Also, it runs on washers. So that's the action on the Para 3. The Bugout is a similar story, but this is an ambi lock crossbar lock, and this is actually ambidextrous. They advertise this as ambidextrous, but it's not. It's very hard for a lefty to use. This has just thumb studs, right? Which you can flick out, obviously, with your thumb. Or you can do the reverse flick with this guy, and I'll screw that up, just like I did the other one. And I'll screw it up again. There, okay? I do it all the time. It's just hard off camera. But yeah, you can flick it out either way, and it's pretty fun. The detent on this, kind of like the Spyderco, is very light. That is okay on this knife because it has the crossbar lock. It's just the way the axis lock works. The detent is basically the spring tension. The Omega springs in there. There is no detent ball. Like, there's no traditional detent. It just works on spring tension. And once you get past that tension, then it kind of like is free out here. So you just kind of have to shoot it past that, and then it flies out. It's interesting, but it's very intuitive. When you first get one, you just kind of, flick it a couple times, and you totally understand it and get it, and it's fine. Closing action, same kind of thing as the compression lock. You don't have your fingers in the path. You pull these bars down, and the knife drops. And again, your mileage will vary. Some will drop instantly all the way closed. Some, like this one, you have to just give a little bit of a shake to. Like I just kind of flick it in a little bit. And then it'll close all the way. So, and that's kind of how both of them are. You just kind of have to gauge them. If I turn this pivot screw like just a little to the left, it would drop shut instantly, but I don't want more blade play because this already has a little bit of play in it to get it to where it is. So it's just kind of what you get with these knives. You have to fiddle with the pivots to get the action right, and then fiddle with the centering. It's just that's just kind of a Benchmade Spyderco thing, to be honest. But that's action. So that's really most of what I wanted to talk about. There's just the final piece of like value, which is hard to say on these. They're both American-made knives. So the Para 3 is made in Golden, Colorado, USA, Earth. And this is an in-house design. Saul Glesser and Eric Glesser. So here you go. This is Saul Glesser's Maker's Mark, and there's Eric Glesser's Maker's Mark. They are the father and son duo from Spyderco. The Benchmade Bugout is an in-house design. It's not attributed to anybody. It has the butterfly on here. And this is made in the Beaverton or something, Oregon area. Let's just call it somewhere near Portland, probably Oregon. So they're both American-made knives. The pricing is similar. So if you get the plasticky FRN whatever version of this knife, it's going to be about now I think they're like $130. I got mine for $115. The plasticky whatever version of this with BD1N steel is like $90. This is S30V. But they came out with the Spy 27 one, which is more comparable to S30V, maybe a little better. That one was, I think, like $145. So there's your FRN price range. And then the G10 versions of this really vary. I just call it $150. And then depending on the steel, if you get Maximate, it's $200. If you get S35EN, it's $170, that kind of thing. And this one, they just started coming out with different handle materials. It was all FRN type stuff. Then they made like a carbon fiber mixture, which, whatever. But recently they released like G10 and 20 CV from Blade HQ. Those are $200. So that's kind of your price range, I'd say. $120 to $200, depending on the model you get and the steel and everything. So I think the value is an interesting one. A lot of people think, they're both overpriced, and I just think they're not. I think they're good values. I think for an American-made product, it's a good value. And if you're the type of guy who just wants a knife and you're going to take it to work and beat it up, and then once it's freaking finally toast, you're going to get a new one, these are great for that. $150 will get you, 5 years out of it. And if you're somebody who really likes to mod it, like I do, then yeah, you're in it for more. Like this $115 bug out turned into probably a $300 bug out, The scales and backspacer alone were $120 together. So, and then it's the same deal with the pair of threes, all the little pieces you buy. It all adds up. This CME was $25. This clip was $25. These scales were probably $80 or whatever. That's just kind of how it goes. But we love our toys, and we love to piece them together and make them our own. And that's what these two, in the end, are so good. That's why they're so good. Because they're great everyday carry knives, and they're fun to make your own. The little kid in us, comes out when we get a knife like this. So that's just kind of how I look at it. I just wanted to do a quick comparison of these two. I know I rambled there a little bit and went into things many of you already know. But in case anybody new is catching the channel, I wanted to just do a quick comparison of the Benchmade Bugout and the Spyderco Para 3. So, really appreciate you guys letting me rant and rave as usual. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you later.